Welcome back everyone to the Hearthstone Global Games. We saw Finland eliminated earlier, now Hungary also out of the competition, but now we move on to a more positive match with two teams at 2-1. It's going to be Germany versus South Korea, trying to get to 3-1 or dropping down to 2-2, but either way, it's not going to be an elimination match today.
Yeah, and now we've taken care of Darek and Falcone.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to do that. It wasn't pretty to watch, but however, we will be casting for the rest of the day now because they are not going to be able to do so. Either way...
Sometimes you just got to do it, but this looks like a match that anybody would want to cast because this is two of the teams going into the event that people thought were going to do well, and they are doing well. Two of the very big points earners and also two players already in World Championships for next year involved.
And we will take a closer look at these teams very shortly. We have, of course, I mean, look at this Germany lineup. I'm just looking at that, and that is a star-struck lineup. I literally just want all of their signatures on a mouse mat. You've got Psycho, Viper, Bunny Hopper, Scintillol. Incredible, but then you look at the side of South Korea as well.
Yeah, and this South Korea team, not everybody is a household name there, but Rivius is the highest points earner in the region. Surrender, everybody knows from various World Championships, various victories. And Stilo and Suni are also racking up the points. These guys got 200 points between them in Season 2 alone.
And that is a lot of points.
That's a lot. That's 50 each, roughly. And they're very, very close to 50 each. As we look at Germany.
Yes, we do.
Indeed.
No snow there.
No snow in Germany and normal speed moving cars.
I'm wondering how the German team, like, who's kind of in charge? Because, I mean, you look at some of those players and the sheer caliber of players on that team, and you see them performing well at tour stops. Like, Seiko has performed fantastically. Bunny Hopper, of course, has... he's got championship belts underneath him now. Like, it's incredible.
It really is, and I think last year, my inkling would be that maybe it's Viper who's the one who's in charge. Because last year, when that team was somewhat falling apart due to various players going their separate ways, I felt that it was Viper then who was the one who was serious and keeping it together. It's like, hey guys, we would like to win, this would be fun. And I feel that that experience from last year means that Viper's the best placed to be the one who, you know, if a call needs making, makes it. Let's see what calls he did make, though, with the bans for this game.
Of course, bans extremely important. You want to get rid of the best deck. South Korea losing Hunter, which is their Death Rattle Hunter, I believe. Germany losing Druid, and you can see the picks that followed. Druid and Warlock taken away from South Korea. Warrior and Rogue taken away from Germany as well. Remaining one ban, Paladin disappears from Germany and Mage disappears from South Korea. Initial thoughts on those bans then, Lorinda?
Both Druids being banned might seem obvious, but something we've seen a lot of in the last tour stops and in HGG is Druid being played because the meta has naturally evolved. The decks naturally evolve on ladder, no matter how much we like to say tournament decks are different. And it's evolved to be able to beat Druid. It doesn't necessarily do a very good job of it, but then you then added a bit of extra tech to beat Druid in Constructor play and tournament play, I feel that Druid doesn't get banned as often as maybe you'd expect. But this time, these guys want none of it. It's like, hey, Hearthstone's easier if your opponent doesn't have 9 mana on turn 3.
Yeah, getting rid of Druid. And this is the thing, we thought that everyone was just going to be banning Druid like all of the time, right? It's crazy that it has just developed, as you said, or evolved, a little bit like Shaman, evolves quite often. Let's have a look and see what matchups are going to be in store for these players, though, after that pick and ban phase. First up, it's going to be Warlock versus Shaman, followed by everything else that you can see on the screen. And I can tell you that is a Zulok for Germany, and it's going to be the Shudderwock Shaman for South Korea. So I guess, Neil, we should probably be talking about this matchup. How do you feel about Zulok versus Shudderwock Shaman?
So I feel that Zoo has an advantage, especially now that Shudderwock is back to playing Keleseth and not playing Pyromancers anymore.
Yep.
But I think it does depend massively on how many Happy Ghouls you can draw and get going. Zoo has amazing starts that are hard to deal with outside of a Lucky Lightning Storm, and terrible starts which you don't need to deal with, in which case Shudderwock will be able to get in the words that I need right now.
Words are always a good thing. Speaking of good things, we have two incredible players on the screen as well. I mean, Scintillol piloting a zoo, I guess that's a good thing. He's a pretty good player. I imagine he knows how to draw a couple of Happy Ghouls on turn 1.
Yeah, Scintillol likes his aggro decks as well. One of you in chat, one of you just said it's a board control deck. Welcome to 2018. Zoo's now an aggro deck. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't have as many buffs as it used to do. Maybe you control the board for a turn, but basically it hits people with a lot of damage and keeps doing so for me.
Zoo is an aggro deck. Yes, you are quite correct. When you, on turn 1, when you can play a 2-1 and a 2-1 and then 2 3/3s with a coin, it's pretty disgusting to have that board.
And it's pretty aggro. It's giving you some aggro right from the start. Sunni, though, Keleseth is an interesting one because it does at least put something on the board, and of course, it cheats. Anything else outside of that? Hex might be too slow, you feel, for Zoo, perhaps?
I feel like Hex is too slow. You're looking for your lightning storms, very much so. You'll take a Volcano as a backup plan, I feel. Even Saronite Chain Gangs aren't so bad against Zoo. It does just allow you to draw closer to those removal and stop Zoo from just going out of control. The interesting thing I feel for the mulligan on the other side for Zoo is, are you keeping Happy Ghoul? I have seen that go against players. For example, Hunter Race, I remember at HET Japan, he kept a Happy Ghoul in his opening hand like this, but was punished by not drawing any sort of healing whatsoever.
I think it makes a big difference what you're against. I feel if you're too slow against Shudderwock, it will get into those cards that you want, like the Volcano and the Lightning Storm. So I feel taking a chance as we wait for people to reconnect to Hearthstone. I think taking a chance when you're in a matchup that needs that explosive start is definitely the way forward, because if you don't hit the good stuff, well, you're probably not winning anyway.
Yeah, and the crazy thing with Zoo now is the fact that if they don't hit the good stuff, they have the refillability. Like Solarium is there. Soul Infusion is also a disgustingly filthy card, or as many dirty things as I can say about a card. The fact that you can get that on like a Saronite Chain Gang or anything like that, then suddenly a turn 4 is so intimidating from the Zoo side.
Yeah, and obviously doubling it. They've made it so that it's got a lot of good targets. I didn't like the card when I first ran it, and I still don't personally, because I never hit anything other than bad things with it. But yeah, it's a good card, and obviously it's a good curve filler at the very worst. Sometimes you just buff your Voidwalker ready for next turn, and that's fine.
But I think similarly to what we saw in the first series of the day when we were watching Shudderwock Shaman against an aggressive variant of, well, it was an even Shaman, so not as aggressive as Zoo, more of a board control deck. It was able to draw its healing rain, it was able to survive, sustain, get out of range, and then take control. However, against the Zoo, it's not going to be as easy because you've got the early game pressure from the Zoo, which is a lot heavier. They have that burst potential from Soulfires, Doom Guards, etc., etc. But they still can find that removal. They still can get those Lightning Storms, those Volcanoes. And then suddenly, you as the Shudderwock Shaman, you're pretty much laughing at that point if you manage to retain and regain, the board control.
Yeah, and obviously with Electra now, you can't get out of range with your bigger minions as Zoo. It can be Electra Volcano, reset the board. And although the hero power in Zoo is amazing, it is kind of slow for modern Hearthstone. And talking of modern Hearthstone, we have reconnected at the point where we left off, so no shenanigans with re-mulligans or anything. We're just going to get straight on with it. You'll all be delighted to know.
Speaking of modern Hearthstone, Prince Keleseth on 2. That's very much just Hearthstone for the past, what, 5 months? 6 months? It's been quite, it's been quite a while now, right?
It's been a long time, depending which decks. I know Zixo, back when Zixo, played Hearthstone. No, he's doing well again now, but he had a bit of time not playing so much. He was playing Keleseth Zoo like the day that Keleseth came out and doing absolutely fine with it.
And it's just a really nice way for this Shudderwock Shaman to just kind of try and reply to an early board from Zoo, but actually, this isn't really that much of an early board from the Zoo. You could use the Void Ripper if you really wanted just to get control back yourself, but no healing found, so that means both these Happy Ghouls are just essentially useless at this point unless you just want to play a 3-mana 3/3 Neil.
So how do you want to progress? Oh, they're trying to get into those Happy Ghouls. I was going to say, how do you want to progress given that there is healing on the way? The healing will come, you'll be fine with it. And so there's no panic. You just want to make sure you don't get too far behind until that massive swing turn. But
Keleseth into Saronite Chain Gang has always been something that's just, well, Sunni is clearly happy about it. A smile on his face, and rightly so. It feels good when you're able to draw Saronite Chain Gang straight after Keleseth. But
Dan's got a cheeky smile on his face at the moment as well.
I smile about weird things with Hearthstone, don't I?
Yeah.
It's actually like really horrible things that everyone hates.
You just fell down the stairs.
Well, no, I'm not that evil. I mean, maybe if it was you. But I like kind of demonic project onto an influential minion, onto a minion that you need, like a Shudderwock or something. That makes me smile. Those kind of things make me smile.
You don't have empathy with the other side at all.
Because I'm usually on that other side.
Oh, okay. You know? It's just a revenge trip for you.
Yeah. When Dirty Rat was taken out of rotation, I think I had a moment of silence because I was sad.
But it's back now.
But it is kind of back.
So the problem with Suni here, the reason he's taking so long is, does he actually need that chain gang yet? Is there a hurry for it? Acolyte of Pain's a perfectly serviceable card right now, and is likely to draw more than one card, but they feel the need to just make sure that the next turn is completely wiped out.
I think I prefer this. I think the Acolyte of Pain does open itself up to be killed off if there is any healing quite comfortably by the Light Warden that's already on the board, and that would make it an Acolyte of Plain as well. Pretty plain, 1/3 that draws one card, not that great.
Yeah, agree with that.
Yeah, pretty plain.
The rain falls on the plane later on though to join 3 cards.
Yeah, mainly in Germany.
Yeah, and South Korea.
Yeah.
Why aren't Spain playing? It's just ruined. I should have saved that for another day.
Yeah. Let me write that
I'll
down.
use it again.
Yeah. Spain.
By the way, when casters say they're going to write something down, even if they're memeing, they always write it down. Sottel's the same, I'm the same.
Even if we don't actually write down what we're saying, we'll just scribble something, just to make it...
Yeah, I mean, he's actually written Spain, rain.
Yep.
Meanwhile, obviously, as we were waiting for that turn to occur, no healing was drawn, and that means that South Korea, Suni's loving this game. He's got your sense of humour with these Samanites.
It's always great to see a Hearthstone player laughing at their fortune as Samurai Chain Gang #4 is put on the board, essentially. And it's just going to be so difficult for Germany to get back into this now, as finally there's some healing. You right?
No, I was watching Scintilla while you were watching Suni.
Is it the other side of the spectrum?
It's the exact opposite of whatever Suni was doing. He's just not happy at all. And that's what makes me happy. Not Scintilla in particular, just anybody just having a bit of a moment.
So I like seeing people happy, you like seeing people sad. Is that what we've agreed? Who's the bad person really here, Neil?
But Scintilla has recomposed himself to some extent. No, he hasn't. I'm lying.
I mean, Fungal Enchanter into double Happy Ghoul isn't that bad. It does just get chomped up by these Saronite Chain Gangs that are 3/4s. So it looks like Scintilla's even considering Fungalmancer, but you can see, like, his face is scrunching up.
Yeah, every play that was suggested to him by these world-class players on his team there, he just went, "Ugh, I don't want to do that." And then eventually you've got to pick one of them because all of your plays are not good in this position. And you can tell that Scintilla thinks this is over already. But it's not. I mean, he's got double Happy Ghoul in hand. Things can change around with a couple of good pickups.
This is like one of the worst case scenarios for Zoo, though. Another worst case scenario is when you get hit by a load of lightning storms and then suddenly you're facing down like I don't know, a Mind Control Tech or a Gluttonous Ooze that's on the board. But Mind Control Tech being in hand for South Korea means that if the board does go wide, they're going to have the ability to steal one of those bad boys and then rub even more salt in the wounds of Scintilla.
Yeah, and I think those wounds are quite open.
Like, very much so.
Suni, just weighing up, I mean, going back to the meme play, Acolyte Volcano is a thing that would be on their mind for later. And they're just trying to weigh up how far ahead to plan that, whether they want to just drop an Acolyte now, which at least occupies the board a little. Maybe get some more cards. And they're just going to go for board control in its fullest. Not like saving about the MC Tech.
I really like it, especially if you've got the healing totem on the board as well. Allows this to get a little bit bigger. And it's just good. You stay ahead on board and then you say, how are Germany going to get back into this game? They don't have ability to clear boards themselves.
But one of those cards was kept in the mulligan for Scintilla, so they know there's a Happy Ghoul there. What else could that ever be? Is he? Derek just...
I don't really know what happened there.
No,
to give you some context, Derek Brown just decided he wanted to walk into the casting room, walk in front of all the TV monitors, and leave the casting room.
With a slightly scary look on his face.
Not take the normal hallway route, where you don't even interrupt the casting ability at all. Instead, just walking in front of cameras. Anyway.
He's a bit jealous because we kicked him off the cast.
Well, at least I'm just glad to see he's okay and well.
Yeah.
I was a bit concerned after.
Fair enough. You have your opinion.
After your greeting with him. And for some reason, he's doing it again. He's lost the plot today, clearly. Meanwhile, Scintilla still trying to find a way to get back onto this board. Finally finds the ability to chunk down his minions a little bit, get some healing back up, and then finally plop these Happy Ghouls back on the board. And this is, it feels like the push. This is the push for Germany where they're saying, right, maybe we can get back into this game. But Zola allows another mind control tech to be played.
Yeah, there's the choice between that and, of course, the Volcano. Pretty close, but South Korea were ready for this. Before we were so rudely interrupted by a certain member of the staff, I was trying to say that they knew that the Happy Gore was present in hand from the Mulligan, at least one of them. And they probably worked out it was two because Sintlol did nothing for so long. What's the other cards it could be? Maybe a Leroy. And they'd be ready for this burst. Plus, they're so far in front, even if they didn't know it was coming for sure, they were able to plan for it. And for me, that makes me think they're very tempted by this Volcano. You do have to be a bit careful against Zoo these days. It's not just clear their board once and you win. Because their reload next turn, as you can see, is pretty strong with so much stuff going back on board. If you Volcano now, you can find yourself in a lot of trouble. So they might try and do the best they can with what they have. They've got health to give with the Healing Rune in hand. The Healing Totem in hand is pretty good. Sintlol's just not happy at all.
I mean, and this is a pretty important match, I'd say, just looking at the series layout for Germany. Going into the next couple of matches, there is potential that South Korea might even be able to find a 3-0 if they're able to go 1-0 up here. We saw what happened for Sweden earlier against Finland. But they've just done so well. South Korea, I mean, by doing so well, I mean they've drawn 2 Saranite Chain Gangs after playing Keleseth, which is obviously going to help you against Zulog.
Notice they did the mind control tech before the trade there, because the 3/3s were the best things to steal. So leaving as many of them there as possible gave themselves a maximum chance before their trade.
Yeah, taking the value, like they could have killed off the 2-1 if they wanted to, right?
But they worked out in advance what they were going to trade into. Realised it was the 3/3 anyway. They're not going to do the value trade, and so they did the MC tech first, and that worked out with the maths for them, which I'm sure Sintlol will be delighted about.
And Voodoo Doctor earlier on would have been nice for Germany. Imagine, see, this is the difference. If that Voodoo Doctor had been found on turns 1 or 2, then suddenly even the chain gangs would have struggled because the board would have just been so much wider for Germany.
And it is worth noting how much of a reload they gave themselves here. If Suni had gone for that Volcano, he would have found himself in a world of pain the next turn. But they played around that eventuality. We hear a yay from production.
As Poland take a 1-0 lead over Vietnam. That series is also competing to try and get 3-1 in the Swiss. So a very important game over there.
Poland actually, for us, I think, one of the lesser-known teams that are doing well in the tournament. I know Nimch was telling us how great the Polish team was, and they have got a very good lineup this year. But in general, probably a small surprise they're doing so well this time around. Sorry, production. And last year it was Israel who kept proving us wrong. We were like,
It was insane, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Every time we counted them out, they just...
And every time I interviewed them, I had to apologise. Oh, I didn't think you'd get this far. I said it like 4 times running.
It's because, like, I mean, you as a statistics man in particular, like, you go off statistics. You go off players that have achieved incredible results at tournaments. And sometimes these lesser-known players who might not have achieved as much as some of the bigger players...
Yeah, especially when it's not a team full. Like, a lot of these teams have 1 strong player or 2 strong players, but when you're doing the numbers, you forget that you don't need a whole team. It definitely helps, especially at this level, to have 4 people telling Orange what he's doing right and wrong as an arbiter. But when you've only got 1 strong player like A8 or somebody like that, then you tend to count out the fact that the rest of the team, if they're even decent, which they definitely are, the Polish team, are giving him a lot of help.
And you've got to, like, I mean, even consider how much HCT points they were able to achieve to even get this far.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
that's the thing. Their ladder finishes have obviously been very successful, but Germany here, still a struggle. This board is still something they need to be dealing with from South Korea. There is also an Acolyte of Pain that they need to take out, otherwise it could start drawing cards, a significant amount of cards.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do, because next turn was going to be pretty grim.
That's mind control tech number 3 arrives for Suni as he's still laughing about it.
Everybody watch Sintlol. That's all that matters this turn, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, you can't ask for much better as the Shudderwock Shaman. Mind control techs, Zola, Volcano available, Keleseth, and 2 Saranite Chain Gangs.
Yeah, just all your small stuff that
all
challenges the board.
need.
And you've got it backed up with, like you just mentioned, the Volcano if things go wrong, which they haven't currently no intention of doing by the look of it.
And sometimes the scary thing is with Shudderwock Shaman, when you do draw like all these like low-end minions, you're like, great, okay, I can answer the board, but sometimes you do just run out of stuff, and then suddenly a deck like Zoolock can just refill over and over.
Yeah.
Maybe more so Odd Paladin is more difficult to deal with their refill potential, and then you're just hoping that you find your combo pieces. But because South Korea are so far ahead, they have the time to play with right now.
Yeah, and I feel it's harder. I feel it's harder against the Paladin than the Zoo as well, because the Zoo's refill does cost them health.
Yes.
And the Shudderwock is okay at finding bits and pieces of damage. Like, there's plenty on board right now. It's not like it's infinite time for the Zoo to reload. Even if the Shudderwock doesn't combo, it can just kill you sometimes.
And even Despicable Dreadlord now is not going to save Sintalol. I think that was the hope. Maybe they could get Despicable Dreadlord. There was a lot of 1 health minions. But I think his forehead is firmly pressed on his desk right now. As there's that Despicable Dreadlord as well. Imagine if that healing rain wasn't there. Suddenly 4 of those minions disappear from South Korea and you are right back in this.
Yeah. Made an absolutely huge difference. South Korea playing very well, actually. Very alert to the ways that this could go wrong.
Yeah, recognizing that their health total, well, fine, okay, they could heal that back up later, but it's these minions that are actually keeping them in this game, or keeping them ahead in this game.
Still a little bit of time for Germany to draw out of this, but the time is running incredibly short now. The Shudderwock either answers more board presence or starts getting its combo.
And Suni still has time. He doesn't even have to resort to Acolyte of Pain plus Volcano this turn. You have Farsight, you can draw, you can play your Life Drinker, you can trade.
He may choose to. It's not a bad spot to just get on with it, but I think he's just going to carry on as long as he dare.
Oh, Lightning Storm as well.
Oh.
He's still laughing.
I mean, also, when you're Suni here, not only do you find it funny because you're drawing really good cards every turn, but you know you're playing Sintalol, and you know what he's probably reacting like, because he has had some pretty atrocious luck this year.
And you know you're playing one of the best teams in HGG, arguably.
Yeah.
The German lineup is absolutely stellar. It's incredible. And if you can go 1-0 up, put your team in a good mood, well, maybe you'll be finding yourselves at 3-1 at the end of this series.
Sinto leaps forward as the last chance is drawn, the Solarium, or Solarium.
And Soul Infusion onto the doubling imp. That's really nice for Sintalol.
If only his opponent didn't have Acolyte of Pain Volcano with the exact right mana to do it next turn. Then he could get really excited.
But you've also got to be worried about your own life total here at Sintalol too.
Yeah. Well, there's 14 health on the board. You've got a card that does 15.
Yeah, you can trade in twice as well. As well, someone's moving in the background.
They're just packing ready for next week's match now they know they've won this one.
I'm fairly certain it was in the background of his camera that, I think it was 2 weeks ago, someone came in and just turned the light off.
Yeah, it was literally somebody's mum. It was just literally, because he turned around and was like, no!
He was like, no, I'm playing Hearthstone, I need the light. But Suni is saying, nope, it's not Acolyte Volcano time just yet.
Wow.
He is really bleeding Sintalol dry here.
If you can save your removal, save your removal, but I just liked the fact it drew him into the cards to keep this going, whilst the board would be innocuous.
I mean, but he's like, well, Germany could draw their cards. They have 6 cards left.
But they're going to get buffed, Dan.
Wow. 2 Doom Guards in there, I'm presuming?
It might just be a Leroy, depending on
it is just a Leroy.
Yeah.
No Doom Guards.
That annoys me, but it's the way it is these days.
It annoys you there's no Doom Guards?
Yeah.
Why so?
So you're playing a deck that goes up to 5 mana.
Yes.
And one of the best cards in the game costs 5 mana. And you don't play it.
Yeah.
It is the modern way, I understand it.
It's, I think the issue is with this current Zoolock is there are a lot of cards you don't want to be throwing away, and when you get in that position of Doomguard throwing away cards, it can be awkward. But
yeah, sometimes your swing turn is turn 5 or turn 6 these days, and especially if you have to wait for your happy ghouls to do their thing.
I think we will see it return. I don't think it's the end of Doomguard. It certainly has a place and always will have a place in Zoo.
It's not that long since people were calling for it to be Hall of Famed, and suddenly it's not even fitting in Zoos.
Crazy, right?
If it's not fitting in Zoo, you can't Hall of Fame it. Not having it.
Alright, is it now time, Suni? Or is it too soon?
Well, now he has the Lightning Storm as backup, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is right. And as there's no Blood Reaver Gul'dan available for Sintalol, which we used to see in Zoo either, there's no refuel option, and I think that's going to be a concede. Yes, it is. Sintalol, not the most enjoyable game of Hearthstone for him, but on the other side, it's smiles all round. South Korea going 1-0 up here with, well, your perfect game of Shudderwock Shaman, really. If you want to know how to beat aggro decks, that's how you do it.
Yeah, you've got a combo of Shudderwock, Grumble. Just don't draw those. Who needs those? He's going to play 3/3s.
We've seen 2 Shudderwock games today, or at least in our series, and we haven't seen Shudderwock be played.
Nope.
Does that mean we can call it not a Shudderwock Shaman? Can we just call it Good Shaman or something?
There's already a Good Shaman.
Oh,
You can call it something like Shaman.
Goodish Shaman?
Fairly Good Shaman.
Fairly Good Shaman.
Mediocre
we'll
Shaman.
go with that. Let's see what the next matchup of the day is going to be then. It's going to be Seiko going up against Surrender. Oh, what a matchup this is in terms of players. But for decks, it's going to be Shudderwock Shaman on the side of Germany now. Seiko is going to have a chance there. And Odd Paladin for Surrender. Now, we were talking in that matchup, we were saying that Odd Paladin has that little bit more refuel when it comes to this game. Do you think Odd Paladin has a better matchup against Shudderwock Shaman here?
It's better against this version of Shudderwock with the Keleseth than the old Pyromancer version, which seems to have gone out of fashion. It's still sort of iffy, I feel.
It is, again, because of lightning storms. Because of, well, let's say that Germany draw exactly how we just saw South Korea draw. They should be in a decent spot as well. The Saronite chain gangs, once they've been buffed up, do some incredible, incredible work. And now my aim for this game, Lorinda, is not to call Seiko Psycho, because I do it far too often, and
Isn't that the correct way to say it?
Well, I don't know if it's Seiko or Psycho.
I think it's Psycho, because the second letter in German is kind of the
I got corrected when I did say Psycho, and someone was like, it just sounds like you're calling him a Psycho.
Well, he is a Psycho.
Well, there is that as well. Actually, no, he's such a gentle.
Yeah, he really is.
I met him for the first time, and he's such a gentle guy.
But I think it is Psycho. We should have checked with him when we met him, really.
Probably should have.
But I was calling him Seiko, like the one to watch, and all this stuff going on for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I was told it was Psycho.
I've been corrected both times I've said it. So, and this is what happens quite a lot with pronunciations of player names as well. Sometimes the players don't even know themselves. I imagine Seiko or Psycho would, but I have had players going, I don't mind.
I cast a tournament once. I'm not going to spam them here, but for a company who just said, "What's your company called?" They said, "Well, we don't mind. Either's fine." And we're like, "You don't even know what you called your own company."
It does help. I would say if you are an upcoming Hearthstone player, just know what your name is, and then it will help us as well. We do try sometimes. We try and find out names.
We do.
Yeah.
It takes a while sometimes.
Yeah, it can do. Some are more complicated than others.
Some people still say Navia.
Bunny Hopper is easy. Do I say Navia? I might do. Right, so we are going to be waiting for this matchup. I'm going to give my opinion on Odd Paladin versus Shudderwock Shaman, Neil. I think that Odd Paladin should be able to burst through, but if we see a game like we saw in Series 1, where maybe a Healing Rain is drawn for 0, or a Lightning Storm is drawn for 0, when your back is really against the wall, then the Shudderwock Shaman should be able to get over the line. However, I think the Odd Paladin's refuel is just too much. Like, that hero power is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you're always scared of the level up. That's the actual crazy card. The hero power isn't a threat in its own right. 2 1/1s. They're going to tickle you to death. What they're going to do? What they're going to do is they're going to level up.
I mean, I'm scared of level up just in general. Like, it doesn't even matter where I am in the day. I have nightmares about that card. I'm sleeping hot sweats. It's terrifying. I'm just looking through the Paladin list now. They are also running Blood Knights and Giggling Inventors, as it seems everyone is now in Odd Paladin. It is crazy, isn't it, that Giggling Inventor has worked its way into aggressive decks. Like, it's so versatile.
Yeah, we've seen this before with what is an equivalent of a big taunt, because that's basically what Giggling Inventor is in its own way, where it just defends the aggressive stuff. And if you have a deck with buffs in it, like Odd Paladin does, sure, let's do that. Let's buff that up with a raid leader and defend our other minions at the same time.
This Paladin list from South Korea also running the Glowtron, or 2 Glowtrons, which some people still don't know whether they want it or not, but I guess the magnetic synergy that you've got with Giggling Inventor means it's worth putting in, because, I mean, it's another 1-drop that's a 1/3 to put on the board, right? Like, how often do you see Dire Mole just being run in some decks because it's a 1/3? So it's a pretty good early body.
I think as mechs were sort of tried on day 1 and got silenced a lot, we've sort of talked about this with Muzzy's deck, we saw that mechs just completely vanished from the scene. It's like, oh no, let's not play those things, they're bad. And then people are working out how to put a small number in, a smattering, if you will, of mechs, just to have that synergy, because magnetic is decent, but you don't want too much because you know, bad things can happen when the silence does return.
Too much synergy is a bad thing. Just a little bit of synergy.
Just a little bit.
Whilst we're waiting, Neil, can we do my favourite thing on the broadcast?
Have you got some of those facts?
I have some facts. You didn't ask me last series. I had some good facts for Finland and Sweden, and now Finland are out. I'll never be able to use them ever again until next year.
They'll last.
They'll last. I'll wait till next year. What would you like a fact on? Germany or South Korea?
South Korea.
Okay. In South Korea, Valentine's Day is celebrated very differently. Instead of both sexes buying for each other, instead, the woman just buys for the man, but then a month later, on March the 14th, the man has to buy 3 times the amount that the lady had to buy in terms of money.
What's the divorce rate like in March?
I don't have those statistics, unfortunately. That is not a fact I have.
That's like a good way to make a profit.
It seems good, right? Like, you could just spend loads if you're the lady, and then you're like, well, you got to times it by 3.
If he hasn't done one.
Exactly, yeah, that can be. Oh, Dan's fact means we're at 3. Is that all we're at so far this season? Unfortunately,
but in
I have
a month's
more.
time, that'll be 9.
I have more available. Yes, it will. That's a good joke. Okay, do you want a quick Germany one?
I would love
whilst we
a
have
quick
time.
one, yes.
Gummy bears were invented by a German.
Okay, is that it?
That is it. I think that's a pretty cool fact. Gummy bears are yummy, they're tasty, and they were invented by a German.
Which you wouldn't expect, really, for something yummy and tasty.
Well, Germans make good sausages as well.
You'd expect, like, stern-faced bear.
Yeah. Anyway, we are into the series. We're back in. We have South Korea leading 1-0, and now Surrender is going to be taking control here with his odd Paladin. But Seiko or Psycho, however you want me to say it, just let me know.
I'm just going to alternate or use whichever one comes out at the time. As we both scramble through the deck list.
I think
find why there's a Twilight Drake in there, and it's in there because it's good.
Yeah, why not? It's a decent body. Your hand is often quite large as the Shudderwock Shaman.
Yeah, I mean, you have 2 1-drops that you don't play as 1-drops in Glacial Shard. You have Keleseth on 2. You don't have a great deal on 3, to be fair. So, and one of those is Mana Tide. So yeah, get yourself in a huge defender with the Twilight Drake. I've heard that mentioned with regard to the other Shaman deck, the good Shaman deck. Where Twilight Drake, because you can get the battle cry twice when it comes back and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, of course.
Being a thing people wanted to try, but Psycho is one of those players who is not scared to try out the things that haven't been seen so much.
Oh, I'm going to get seasick from Surrender's webcam. As he clearly is not at home, travelling around, it would seem. Is there a tournament coming up?
What, on a boat?
Looks like it. We're all over the place.
Fire your cameraman, Surrender.
He wasn't in Copa America, was he?
No.
No.
I'm trying to work out if he's holding a phone and playing at the same time. When he moves the cards around, it wobbles the webcam.
That webcam's too good to be. I don't think phones can do that. Actually, they probably
Surrender's phone probably can.
Well, but this is a nice early start for the Paladin. We do have the Lightning Storm that's available for the Shudderwock Shaman, which is going to clean up whatever Surrender puts on the board. But it's whether he wants to play around that. Maybe just a Righteous Protector, something that will survive. Or you can push some damage now whilst you've got the opportunity with these raid leaders, or just one of them.
So Surrender knows that his board is going to get cleared going into his turn 5, if it's going to get cleared at all. That's the turn that Germany will be looking to clear it on. So with that in mind, and with the fact he's got 2 raid leaders, I think he might elect to take the damage now, where he gets a free turn at it.
Yeah, because if you push the damage now and your opponent does remove the board, suddenly you can build up that board again next turn, and then you have that potential for level up.
Yeah, and you're clearing away for your level up, for your Fungal Mancers, all that, by trying to get them to clear it. And you know that Seiko won't want to clear this board now. So if he has to overload, then you just, like you say, make loads more stuff. And if he doesn't, then you get to hit him for a lot of damage, and that's what he's going to do, and this makes more sense. Healing Rain, that 0 mana Healing Rain you were talking about.
Oh, but I mean, a second raid leader here. That's so much damage.
That is an absolute chunk-worthy amount of damage.
If the Healing Rain wasn't there, then suddenly that is just terrifying for Germany. But with Lightning Storm, Healing Rain available next turn, you'd think that is going to be just the right amount of stabilization. So maybe Surrender doesn't take this raid leader, even though it is an incredible amount. Okay, yeah, it's hard to pass up.
So 3 mana do 5 is almost a good enough card in its own right. The fact it then forces your opponent to have an answer, which will almost always involve overload unless I'm missing something very obvious.
Yeah, this is a very simple Lightning Storm plus Healing Rain for me. Get you back up to a very respectable life total.
They're just buzzing our cast
What's
again.
happening?
Now Falcone's at it.
Well, meanwhile, Poland are 2-0 up against Vietnam.
And Falcone's disturbed production so much they didn't even get a yay in our ear this time.
Yeah.
What are they doing? So Seiko, I'm trying not to look at Surrender. I'm just going to cover up the
Making you
webcam.
seasick as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's,
Motion sickness, I believe is what the kids call it nowadays.
Is it? Why do they make a posh word for everything?
I mean, I was joking. Motion sickness is a very normal thing to say, Lorinda, but sure. It can be posh in your world if you want it to be posh.
But yeah, Germany
gonna...
now able to stabilise with a healing rain into chain gangs and stuff.
Yeah, but they didn't Healing Rain, which is... I mean, I guess they just knew there wasn't going to be any burst damage, potentially, but...
So why give the information away? It costs you 0.
What if Leroy Jenkins was in hand?
Then you'd be on -1.
I mean, it's pretty risque.
Yeah.
But now you can Chain Gang and you can Healing Rain.
Don't forget you can always healing rain minions later as well. So that's one reason to save it.
I think that's really risky, leaving yourself on 5.
I mean, it is, but this is where Seiko gets edges. He finds ways that maybe he deduced there was no Leroy.
Surely you are Healing Rain this turn. I mean, he's saying, what, he knows there's no Leroy now, and he's saying there's a 1 in 22 that Leroy is drawn. What else can be drawn on turn 6 that can actually do anything? Fungal Mancer, that would also be lethal if you don't Healing Rain here. As Lorinda
I just went checking to make sure there was a Leroy.
scrambles over me to just check that I wasn't incorrectly reading my sheet. But yeah, now Germany recognizing that Fungal Mancer and Leroy as potential outs is just too scary.
Well, there goes the board again, but Hagatha's on the way, there's a Chain Gang, there's a Lightning Storm in the meantime. Not over yet.
Yeah, but Vine Cleaver is going to make this difficult for
one
Germany
turn.
to deal with. Well, yeah, for one turn. Because of Gluttonous Ooze, I see
Yeah.
what you mean, yeah.
There's an
But then
ooze
if you're oozing, then suddenly you're not playing like your Chain Gangs, for
if
example.
you're oozing, you're losing. You know.
Well, very rarely.
Oof.
Reporting for duty.
This looks pretty grim. Is it time to do the old Wrath of Air totem trick? Where you spend 2 mana and get a Wrath of Air totem. It's not a very good trick, but it works.
Storm Chaser in this deck as well. As Neil panics, says, what's it doing in the deck? I mean, you could hear you mouthing it at that point. And Seiko's just going to concede. He had enough.
Storms that way.
I mean, what? Why?
I don't know, but Surrender looked like he crashed the boat at the end there, where the webcam was like all over.
How much mana did he have?
6.
So he could have just tried to roll one and then Lightning Storm, right?
Yes, he could.
So why did he concede? Can I have a moment? What's happening? I don't know. Anyway, 2-0, and I guess this is the perfect time to reflect on our thoughts. We're going to go for a quick break, but when we come back, we will finish this series. Maybe it's going to be 3-0, maybe it's going to go to a Game 5. We'll find out right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Global Games. It's Germany and it's South Korea, and we have an update and some news for you. As you might have noticed, in game number 2, there were some questionable plays from Germany. Keleseth, I think, was mulliganed. Healing Rain not being played when there's potentially a Leroy out. It was just all a bit weird from Germany. Turns out they thought it was a test game. Test games are something that we do in pretty much every series for the Global Games. Certainly in the first 3 weeks, it was happening very often. So it is understandable, and the decision is it's going to be a rematch. They are going to rematch the game. I think this is a correct decision because it's just an accident, and it was very clear they weren't playing the game seriously. Throwing away Keleseth is not something anyone would ever do.
Yeah, and we weren't privy to the exact logs of how everything progressed anyway, so we left that to the admins, but it was clear that there was something very weird there. We're trying to explain plays like, well, he's better than us, why is he doing all this? Well, we realised, we came back with smiles on our faces when we didn't know what was going on there. It's like, they played that really badly, didn't they?
Yeah, it was very odd and very uncharacteristic for some of the best players in the world. So I think we can be behind the legitimate decision that they did genuinely think it was a test game. So it does mean we are going to have a rematch then of the Shudderwock Shaman versus the Odd Paladin. But we got a little teaser of how that matchup should work. The Odd
Paladin, you don't heal up and then you just concede when you might win with a good roll.
The Odd Paladin just has all that early burst, but the Shudderwock Shaman has a lot of sustainability and has all of that clearing ability. But I imagine we're going to see this played slightly differently from the Germans.
You would hope so.
I would imagine so, yes. But it does give now Germany the chance to, well, win a game that was potentially winnable for them.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't even dead in that game. If they'd rolled high on the Totem and Lightning Storm, they'd probably have...
I mean, even just Lightning Storming, like, you still remove, like, half the board anyway. So it would have been okay at that point. But regardless, we don't need to even think about that game anymore because it didn't exist as far as you are aware.
Yeah,
it was all an illusion. But this now is the real game. FYI, not a test game, I am aware. And let's just get into it. Let's get back into this series. Thank you so much.
Surrender's boat.
Yeah, for his wavy camera. Thank you so much, though, for waiting and dealing with the breaks. We do appreciate your time. And hopefully now some fantastic Hearthstone can follow.
And stuff that we can understand.
Yes. I mean, there are times when we as casters don't understand things. However, that was an extreme situation.
It's like, we really don't get it. Anyway, now we do get it. And South Korea have got the level up the corridor creeper and a raid leader. Actually, this whole hand is pretty tasty looking. Depends how much of it they want to keep. But curious to see how they feel this all fits together. Pretty well. But how well?
Well, I was saying... with the coin, it's always tempting to keep that level up. Corridor Creeper, the fact that it does just get so cheap early on because of all of your tokens are just usually battered away. And it is just going to be level up and Corridor Creeper get taken. And they are rewarded with a Firefly and a Lost in the Jungle as well. So that's a really nice start for South Korea here.
Yeah, this is what good mulliganing is all about. Just upgrading your hand into the best hand you can get. And that is pretty close right now. On the other side, Germany already not wanting to do much here, but because they want to have totems on the board, I guess you just Glacial Shard to start with. There is the option to Glacial Shard a minion and trade into the other one on turn 2. But if you do draw Keleseth or something useful, like your totem power, obviously you've wasted a mana if you wait.
But the benefit of a minion being put on the board by Germany means that South Korea have that option of trading in minions, getting that Corridor Creeper down.
Ooh. Yeah, getting a decent roll as well, allowing this to look a lot better now.
Told you Leroy Jenkins was in the deck.
Yeah, not only were we unsure by the time I was peering at Dan's notes, but even Darrett came in and Falcone was saying, well, we've seen there's no Leroy in the deck.
Even chat were like, oh, there can't be Leroy in the deck for that play.
But we're from the future, so chat might not have seen it yet. Talking of in the future, this far sight is cast.
Oh, nice. Acolyte of Pain.
It's so tasty.
It's so good going into these 1/1 tokens. You can draw so heavily because of it. But importantly, or for South Korea anyway, is that there's no board clear for Germany at the moment to deal with a turn 4 level up, potentially.
Yeah, and Korea will take advantage of that most likely. That far sight could be cast in that turn a lot of the time anyway, but definitely a little bit of a hint that the Germans want cards sooner rather than later.
Reporting for duty.
And this is looking like a good old-fashioned turn 4 level up. If that happens. Twilight Drake will function as a pretty good board defense against a wall of 3/3s. It will take its time, but it will pick them off one at a time, like a terrible horror movie.
But the scary thing is you've got level up followed by Fungal Mancer as well, and that's just going to be the amount of damage that you could potentially push. As South Korea are going to start thinking less about trading soon and more about the damage that they can actually deal. And this Saranite Chengang is going to play perfectly into the level up here.
Into the everything.
It also allows
Corridor
Creeper, yeah.
It just plays perfectly into the everything. And you know they kept that card as well.
Yep.
You know they kept those 2 cards, in fact, so...
But I mean, you're stopping at least 6 damage coming towards you.
You are.
And you're also opening yourself up. Yes, you are saying we can Volcano because these minions are going to be a little bit weaker, whereas our Twilight Drake is going to have a very high health total.
Sure, so they're going to Volcano into Twilight Drake. That makes a lot of sense. 6, 7, 8. Corridor Creep would only make it 13. So, yeah, Seiko's done the numbers and realises that, actually, I know what those 2 cards are, and I don't care. But he might care after this turn because he has no further removal. And obviously, Surrender, playing around that Volcano, now has a superb ball loads of any sort he likes.
I guess turn 8 is where Germany want to be getting. Get to Hagatha, have another potential removal of minions with that deal 3 damage.
Yeah.
But it's
a
if they're going to
long
get there.
way away.
It is, and the draws from South Korea can be very significant before then. Especially if they can go wide now, get a Fungalmancer down on the board. I mean, you could Corridor Creep a Fungalmancer here, but I don't really like it.
Yeah, save this Fungal for next turn in case you walk into a Electra into... Oh, you've only got 4 mana next turn. You're not walking into much at all, actually.
Reporting for duty.
Glory to the Sindora.
And realizing that Blood Knight probably not going to get that much value in this game anyway.
Positioning them next to each other, clearly declaring what he intends to do with his Fungalmancer just to avoid any Lightning Storm accidents.
There is Volcano number 2, so that's good news for Germany, but it's whether South Korea can get themselves to a health total on the board that can be out of range of Volcano.
And here's that tricky situation you were talking about a minute ago with the Twilight Drake. They're just doing the counting now. They want to play it, but they want to make sure they can trade against... Fungalmancer's about the highest health thing that can happen to them next turn, and still Volcano everything away. And that's a perfect turn to be doing it. Oh, this would be his perfect turn, but it's not bad to do it on 7. And then they've got all their good stuff going forwards, turns 9 and 10. And yeah, because it's not a huge Twilight Drake, almost pays to their advantage. That's interesting.
I mean, Fungalmancer does more, right? Fungalmancer is putting more stats on the board than Level Up.
But Fungalmancer can do it to any 2 minions over the whole course of the game. Level Up can only do it when you've stuck some dudes, but
it is the extra 2 health.
Stick them next turn.
The extra 2 health from Fungalmancer, is that important against a Volcano here?
6, 9, 14, 15, 16 at the moment.
So 16 you add...
Plus 6.
Yeah. And then you can also add a Firefly.
That's 23. The Drake can take off 7 of those by trading into a 3/3. Oh, they'll be bigger, so no, it won't survive. It will go back down below 15. I'm pretty sure that's what Seiko was checking. Surrender. Getting what he can while it's there. If it is a Volcano next turn, they're not doing a whole lot else, and your reload is yet another hero power level up or Fireflies and stuff, and he is throwing that out there, I think. Maybe it is a break point. 7, 9, 10, 24, and they can take 8 off. Yes, it is indeed a tipping point. There'll be 16 health on the board. Oh no, it's 15 if you went into the Blood Knight. That's what I first thought. Why do you keep contradicting me, Dan?
Literally said nothing for the past minute to let you count it up yourself. I didn't even look at you.
Just details.
But there is the Volcano, yes, and it is going to be able to clear the board, followed by Keliseth. This works out quite nicely, and it is stabilizing now for Germany. And there is no great turn here for South Korea. I mean, you could just hero power level up, hope to push a little bit of damage, but Hagatha will have an answer there.
I mean, you can hero power...
You ended there. You could just hero power.
Hero power raid leader, force the Keliseth to trade into the raid leader, and the next turn you can hero power level up to get 4 3/3s.
Yeah, it's whether I think you still take a Hagatha on the board anyway. Or maybe you don't, I don't know.
And you don't have to force through much more damage because the opponent's on 12 and you have a Leroy in hand. Obviously, we can see there is a Hagatha, that's 5 more. There could be a Healing Rain, that's 12 more. But from where South Korea is sat, there are still opportunities to win this.
Yeah, Vine Cleaver draw would be nice for them as well. Just being able to push face damage whilst building up a board at the same time. But this turn is certainly a pretty ugly one, and they are just going to agree with you. Go as wide as they can. Try and encourage a board clear. If there isn't a board clear, then they have the chance to buff up these Silverhand recruits with that level up. Lightning Storm, though, is the perfect answer for Germany. Because Hagatha, of course, could not be played because of the overload effect.
And can't be played next turn if your Lightning Storm is an issue. But is there anything better? And we can see that it's pretty terrifying if you let this live. But you can Hagatha next turn if there is a level up. You'd be on a serviceable health total, as in you're not dead. That's code.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to Hagatha the turn after. Clear a board, gain 5 health or 5 armor.
But I don't see why you wouldn't Lightning Storm in this situation.
It just literally stops your Hagatha again next turn. That's the terrifying
But
bit.
I mean, you just die otherwise if
Yeah.
you leave too much of this board up, I think.
I agree.
As
Check this
Surrender's
order.
not looking too happy about this.
Saving the overload. Otherwise, you do get... The spell is cast twice with overload twice.
Yep. Oh, there's that Vine Cleaver that we were talking about.
Surrender's ship rocks with excitement as he draws the Vine Cleaver.
Vine Cleaver chunks down to 8. Hagatha then brings you back up to 13, but then you suddenly have a burst of 10 out of your hand.
The only question, I think, hopefully, is whether to trade or face. You think face, really. That was the instinct. And a fanfare goes off in my ear, a human one, to announce the fact that Poland have won again. They're having a really good season now. Production very happy because we are based here in Poland for this event.
Yeah, that puts them at 3-1 in Swiss now. So I'm sure Poland fans and Poland players alike will all be delighted with that one.
And so will we, because it means we get nicer food, better luxury cars, that sort of thing.
The happier production are, the better we're treated. Is that what you were alluding to?
When they win the whole thing, we'll be heroes in an open bus celebration. It's my dream.
Disclaimer, we have no influence over who wins what games. But South Korea and Surrender, he does have an influence over who wins this game, as he is actually going to opt for that trade.
A bit of a... It's not a nothing turn here. I mean, the Grumble is fun and all that.
I mean, they're so close to lethal now.
Yeah.
Like, because Hagatha can't be played, because of that overload that you were talking about, there's 11 damage currently. Suddenly a Blessing of Might is just lethal.
Just keep an eye on Psycho here, see how much talking, how much listening he's doing, because with 4 such great players on the same team, and such an intricate position in terms of counting everything exactly, I do wonder if they've assigned everything absolutely perfectly.
It's whether they're thinking about hero power to go for the Taunt Totem here, yeah. I don't think you are worrying about necessarily hexing this 1-1, because I think... I guess Akra's Veteran would push you over the line as well. Whereas if you hex it, then suddenly you wouldn't die to the Veteran.
Part of me wonders if he's thinking of hexing his own minion.
That is also definitely a possibility.
Yeah, there's blessings in here as well, right? Yeah, just blessings of might. Yeah, that's where he goes. He's like, I'm not going to die to Leroy Blessing this way. Actually, yes, you are. But, you know, I'm not going to die to some things this way that I would die to otherwise with the veterans. And this gives a lot of information to South Korea. Now, can they navigate this Hagatha correctly?
I mean, I think you take the opportunity just to level up, potentially.
I like Corridor. I like Corridor Creeper and Giggling here. Hagatha just doesn't deal with that particularly well. But now he's gone face, it's a bit different.
No, but you're right. You keep enough back that you can still have lethal next turn, even if Hagatha is played here, because the Corridor Creeper is going to survive, and one Anoratron is also going to survive.
Yeah, plenty of damage.
However, what was that? I can't even see what was just drawn.
Red arrow card.
I'm assuming Earthshock? Yeah. Which does change things.
It does. It allows him to clear up everything but the Corridor Creeper.
Which means that
he's dead.
South Korea, no, they're just, what, one off?
Yes, one off.
Not quite there. And that's why the difference was there. Like, just that Earthshock. Able to keep them alive. Just.
But Korea know there is no good removal left in hand. Now you can just attack face, press the magic button, level up, and the only question is, do you want to leave one in the face as well?
And what battle cry
That's like a million different cards.
So, Germany's battle cries I don't even think they've played any... They've not played any Life Drinkers.
Yeah, I think you just press the button and level up here.
And this is the scary thing about Odd Paladin. Once the removals started to disappear from your opponent, you can just have this freedom to push all this damage.
And of course, I've got all the notes from the test game written down, so I have no idea how many Life Drinkers have been playing myself. I can tell you how many I played with a test game if you want. None.
I guess you don't play level up because of Shudderwock can, of course, trigger the battle cry from Hagatha.
Sure. That makes sense.
Well, I mean, even if they do that, you've got Leroy. But it's whether they've played Glacial Shards as well.
Yeah, they play Shards.
That's fine. And judging by Surrender's reaction, I think he thinks that that is the win as well, because the Glacial Shard just had to miss this. What's this card that's just been drawn?
I don't know, it's another...
Oh, Beacon Lightning! That keeps them alive!
Oh my goodness!
That's
and it goes
insane.
off twice, so it hurts those Shudderwocks, but even so...
Oh, but Raid Leader will just about do it. South Korea edge so slowly across the line. You saw the reaction from Surrender when he was like, oh, okay, we've got the right freeze, it's frozen our face, that's fine. But the Raid Leader off the top just about gets there, and now they are 2-0 up here in this series, Lorinda.
Feels like they won that match like 19 times. Not just with reference to the test game, but everything that was happening.
They were just so close.
Like every single turn, oh, here's an Earthshock.
And
here's
Germany...
Big Lightning.
Germany played that very well, right?
Yeah,
they clearly calculated what they could lose to. They were worried about veterans. They were worried about Leroy, Fungalmancers, and all of that jazz. But unfortunately, they just couldn't get over the line in the end. Hagatha tried her best to give them a chance with the Lightning, but wasn't enough.
It wasn't, and 2-0 now. We may have done this before, but looks now like Korea are in a fantastic position. They're favoured in all of the last 3 matches, I would say, or in the last 3 games. And Germany are definitely going to have to work really hard to get back into this.
Potentially favoured. However, the next 2 games are certainly going to be pretty control-heavy. Next up is going to be Dakra versus Bunny Hopper, and it's going to be the Control Priest on the side of South Korea, whereas Bunny Hopper from Germany is going to be piloting the Death Rattle Hunter. We did touch on this ever so slightly before our previous break, and we both agreed that Psychic Scream is a massive influence on this matchup. But if the Priest doesn't draw that Psychic Scream, do you think that the Death Rattle Hunter can just find its way through?
I mean, it can, but it's a massive if. First of all, you've got 7 turns with which to do it. Plus, you have Shadow Visions, which is very likely to find it. And you have other considerations where you can just occupy the board yourself as well to buy some time. And so, I mean, the Death Rattle Hunter can definitely win this matchup. It's not some sort of walkover. No. You can just do Death Rattle Hunter things where it makes an egg, makes a load of 5/5s, and Peaches goes, oh, go on then.
I mean, the Death Rattle Hunter can win against pretty much anything on its day, right? Like, if it gets egg into into Play Dead, into Terrascale, into Cube, it just, like, how do you answer that as any deck that doesn't have any silence? Like, and even if you have silence, there's so many minions on the board that are just going to be such a struggle to deal with.
Just checking which version of the Hunter this is. It is the old school version, so
it's got Spider Bombs, though,
only
right?
eggs. Yeah, Spider Bombs is bit more recent, I guess, but it hasn't got like dragons and things going on. Is what I was saying.
But Spider-Man is the only new card really that's kind of forced its way into Death Rattle Hunter.
So good.
It's incredible. I mean, like Sylvanas Windrunner, she was amazing.
Yeah. And what do you want to synergize it with? Killing your opponent's minions is what you want to synergize it with. You don't need mechs. You just kill their things.
The fact that you have the ability to have magnetic as well, because there's Giggling Inventors in there. I mean, the fact that you can then rush and charge if the Giggling Inventor has lost, the Anoitron has lost its Divine Shield. It all becomes very difficult to try and play around because you're constantly worried about all these death rattles, and then suddenly you're like, well, should I be killing the egg? Should I not be killing the egg? Should I be killing the Spider Bomb? Should I not be killing the Spider Bomb?
Right.
There are all these little minor decisions that can really impact the game.
Yeah, you have to be very careful when you're playing around a Spider Bomb. It usually involves killing it and moving on with your life tends to be the way forward, but
yeah, I think you're okay if you
sometimes they hide it behind taunts and do naughty things like that.
That's when it gets scary. If you can trade into it directly with 1 minion on the board, then it gets good. Speaking of good, Keleseth available on turn 2. Can't turn that down.
Well, we'll see. Let's hope they don't.
If they do, I'll be on the buzzer. On the other side, though, for Dakrivius and South Korea, I guess you're probably looking for those influential cards like Psychic Scream, like Shadow Visions, maybe even a Duskbreaker, but just some early game pressure is great here.
Yeah, just keeping control of the board to some degree early on, because the early boards are only a 5/5 or 2. Only. So it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But it's not that bad. But it gets bad pretty quickly, and you do need to find those Psychic Screams. But the more time you buy yourself to find them, oddly enough, the more likely you are to find them. And from Bunny Hopper's side, it's not so easy. Obviously, these two are the best 2 cards. The rest of the cards look decent, but you're just looking for those eggs.
Yeah, and if you don't find those eggs, if you don't find those early death rattles, you can struggle against other decks. But I guess Priest might give them some time, and potentially that's why South Korea have gone for this mulligan of, well, let's get some early pressure in case they don't hit the nuts. And then suddenly we've got board control and we can try and trade effectively. Just looking through the list of South Korea as well, there is an Omega Medic in there that does feature. Of course, if you have 10 mana, it heals you up.
Yeah,
And,
not a card we've seen it's more common now, but we haven't seen it much times in tournaments yet. We've seen it once or twice in Buenos Aires.
And it's not going to be that influential in this matchup. It's better against aggro, as there is a Devil's Saw egg now been found from Germany. That's exactly what they were looking for.
Yeah, this hand from Germany does look pretty fruity.
What fruit would it be?
It would be orange, because he's Swedish.
Okay.
So probably pineapple.
It's pretty fruity.
Yep.
And also,
because we've already had a pizza discussion today.
It's fruity, but it's also spiky on the outside because it's gonna do some damage.
I never thought they had outsides before.
You've never thought pineapple had outsides, Neil? Are you telling me you're living in a world where you've only eaten tinned pineapple? Oh, you have, haven't you? You've only seen it when it's cut up in little hoops. Oh, bless your soul, Neil. Pineapples are a real fruit and spiky, and they have...
Wow. They have outsides.
They do have, yeah, they have a shell.
Cool, that's interesting. Well done, pineapples.
They did something that you don't do very often.
We'll go outside. Yeah. So South Korea are going to draw as many cards as humanly possible, trying to get to their win condition, which is to Psychic Scream a load of stuff before they're dead, and then kill their opponents.
But clearly, Germany respecting the card draw and just saying, no, we are not going to allow that whatsoever. And now this is where things get tricky, because the Spider Bomb is just so difficult to play around.
Yeah, I'm going to just play a Drake, which is going to get bombed. Interesting decision, this one, to some degree, because you could have Draked next turn and play a shield on it, but that's just going to get bombed as well. Yep. So clean it up, get your Acolyte down. I don't think you've got time to Twilight Acolyte and Shadow Priest, so you Acolyte next turn, put some shields on it, and then you steal their egg the turn after. Yeah,
you are definitely just hoping this Spider Bomb just runs into your Drake and dies. You don't want to see it getting copied, you don't want to see its death rattles being triggered again. You are definitely hoping a Terrascale Stalker is not available for Bunny Hopper right now, because then things start to get miserable from that point onward.
And you were saying about Rexar early on, not only have they've got both parts of the equation. They can do this early silliness with eggs and play deads, and then they can go for the long game with the Rexar. And everything's bigger because of Keleseth. Isn't it lovely?
No.
Speak your mind, Dan. Don't sit on the fence.
It's not lovely. It's so difficult to play against. Yes, okay, there's a Cabal Shadow Priest available for Dakrivius, and that's going to be great on turn 6 if he can steal an egg before that egg is popped. But it's all well and good, like, if they get Psychic Scream and they can shuffle things back into their deck, but they also need their own win condition.
Right.
If they're using Shadow Visions to try and get those Psychic Screams, suddenly they're not using those Shadow Visions to get the Mind Blasts in conjunction with Alexstrasza. And things get a little bit more awkward then when you are just stalling, because stalling's all well and good, but if you're shuffling these minions back, they are going to arrive once again.
He did take that Scream incredibly quickly.
Well, yeah, you definitely have to take the Scream. I'm not saying
it slows down your win condition. I do understand.
But at the same time, you are just concerned that those minions are just going to be coming back.
But the Priest win condition can also be described as drawing a lot of cards. It's kind of its win condition. It just sets up these situations where it draws a lot of cards, and then suddenly it's obvious how it wins. And
we saw the respect that Germany gave them early on when they spider bombed the Acolyte.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's a good job they did too, because that could have got messy.
exactly. Like, play dead on a spider bomb is not something you will typically see. You'd rather save it for a Devil Saw Egg, for example. But now this Devil Saw Egg can be swapperoonied over to the other side of the board.
And are you that bothered about 6? The only thing is with swapperooning it now, is you may just send everything back to their deck next turn.
Fair.
In which case, don't waste your Shadow Priest and swapperoony the next one, or when it comes back. You also get to keep your Acolyte Shadow Priest combo if you do it that way, which means you can swapperoony anything you want. Really got to plan how they want to use this Psychic Scream on how many things. Obviously, at the moment, only the small stuff is even in play. And they're going to do what I was saying, not in terms of a play, but in terms of strategy, which is just keep drawing more stuff. Because obviously with Katharina, with Savannah Highmane, all that big stuff coming, you really don't want to Psychic Scream an Egg, a Mad Prince, and their friendly Panther friend, as Clento would say.
Yeah, they're the kind of cards you don't want to see coming back. Instead, you want to be shuffling those, maybe like cubes, for example.
Yes.
Fantastic things to shuffle back into the deck. But the scary factor is for South Korea, I mean, usually Hunter doesn't really have any healing ability, and you can say, all right, well, once we played Alexstrasza, find a couple of Mind Blasts, we should be able to get over the line. Deathstalker Rexar does change that. Lifesteal is very apparent in Builder Beast nowadays.
Yeah, and people are getting better and better at building beasts.
It's taken a while, but people have got there.
Yeah. Seen some great play in Buenos Aires with people finding very versatile use of their beasts, including one player who saved up for a 3-turn charge Wind Fury kill with 3 different minions.
Wow.
That was quite exciting to watch.
One of my favorites was Emerald Reaver with Russian Echo.
Pew, pew,
And
pew.
just like to find 3 damage at the end of a game, it was great.
That's hilarious too. Yeah, people are getting good, learning their maths better on what might be available.
Let me change your mind.
Ooh. So that clearly shows they're interested in Psychic Screaming.
Yeah, they're saying, go on, cube this. Play dead this. Use your Death Rattle poppers on this. And then we're just going to scream those bad boys back into your deck.
And all the time getting closer to their own win condition, which is Alexstrasza you before you get your lifesteal from your Rexar. Because they don't know it's there.
Now they do.
Now they've got a good idea.
Yeah. Depends how much they're paying attention. You'd imagine quite a lot. Candle Shot synchronizes quite well with Rexar here, allowing for some decent trades.
Yeah, the #1 points earner in Asia probably notices when their opponent plays a Rexar.
You'd think so.
Every time, I should think.
He had a good performance in Japan as well when I was over at HCT Japan. I was very impressed with his play. And I love it. I know there's been a lot of tour stops, there's been a lot of Hearthstone tournaments this year, and honestly I can say that I've enjoyed it so much, being able to see the players go from different tournament to different tournament, changing their play styles or keeping their play styles if it's a good one, seeing how they adapt to the meta.
And you get to not judge people on like one silly misplay or one amazing play as well on both sides. You get to see, is this player any good? You can tell it with streamers because you get to see them play thousands of games. But if somebody goes into the booth at a tournament and just makes a mess of a game, you assume they're terrible because they've been on screen once and all you've seen is 100% garbage. But then you're seeing players more and more coming back. So nice to get a feel for players like Rivius, who has got 103 points or something this year.
Blimey.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's more than I've ever achieved in total, I imagine.
Yeah,
it
will
definitely
be,
will
sure,
be.
yeah.
I'm on what, 3? I'm on more than that, FYI. Haven't calculated. Don't look it up though, because I might be on just 3. Both Terra Scale Stalkers are available now for Germany, but that might just be playing right into the hands of Dagrivius.
Yeah, something we're seeing more and more higher and higher level play is people just not using their good card. Because when you've used it, your opponent doesn't have to play around it anymore. Not quite the same when you've got 2 or 3 Psychic Screams, but especially legendary cards, for instance, once you've used it once, they can just go all in against it.
Yeah.
So not only preserving the AoE for more important situations, but preserving it to stop the opponent taking advantage of the fact you haven't got any left.
And Germany are playing as best as they can around Psychic Scream here. They're not going too all in. Katharina was pretty much all in. Both Stalkers would have been all in as well. But it's whether South Korea see this as a Psychic Scream turn. Nope, they see it as an Alexstrasza turn. It's not a scary enough board, potentially, in the eyes of Dagrivius in South Korea.
I mean, it's pretty scary, but they have got the Psychic Scream into Omega Medic next turn to get most of the health back. So that makes a lot of sense. And you actually start with the board if you wait one more turn. It's nice to start with the board.
And also, I mean, Germany have to get through this Primordial Drake before they can even touch Alexstrasza. Spider Bomb cannot be Spider Bomb can be activated with the Terra Scale Stalker if you want.
Sure, and that's not just what South Korea are looking for. They're not going to mind it, are they, when they're going to Scream next turn?
I think they'll be more than happy if Bunny Hopper has to commit that much to a board, but he is going to start building a little beast or a big beast. And we'll do our best to try and guess what he has picked.
Guess a beast.
Maybe that's we could have that on a community show next week.
Guess a beast.
Guess a beast.
Just mix up two faces or two casters.
I mean, it's definitely Muckler.
What gives you that impression?
It's this picture.
Okay.
Looks like
Muckler.
Looks like Muckler. Looks a bit like you.
Thanks. I'll give you bananas later.
Meanwhile, for Bunny Hopper, he's just really trying to work out the best way of approaching this turn. He probably is thinking, do I need to commit Spider Bomb here? Or can I just say that this Witchwood Grizzly is going to soak up some damage?
Yeah, and it's a bit scary when your opponent hits you for 8 when you're on 20 when they're playing Mind Blast. So he does decide to do all this, and this is a win of the small term, at least, not necessarily a win of the game for South Korea, because they have forced this position from several turns back to get into a position where they've cleared up a load of threats and at least have a presence on the board.
Do you need to Psychic Scream this?
Yeah.
Was there a way you could just double Duskbreaker? Oh, you can't double Duskbreaker because there's only... You wouldn't have a dragon.
If your APM is quick enough, maybe.
Maybe you confuse your hand.
The second one comes down just before the first one hits the board. That'd be great.
If there was another dragon, if they still had Alexstrasza, that would have been a really nice clear.
It would. But this is really nice. Anyway, the 3/4s, irritating enough. It doesn't have to get in many times to stop the 20 health. We can see, of course, that Mukla has lifesteal. So they are going to have to hit face with some minions. But the whole setup there came over 3 or 4 turns. As soon as they drew that medic, it's like, okay, we're just not going to hurry. How do we force the Spider-Man? How do we force maybe the Cathena, whatever they had to force out? And they got most of it played.
How many answers are South Korea going to have to all these beasts that are now going to be built? This was my worry. And I think this is worst case scenario for the Priest, is Rexar arriving within the first 6 or 7 turns.
Build a beast, beat a priest.
Pretty much. That's how it kind of feel like it might go, unless we see those Mind Blasts coming into the equation sooner rather than later.
They've also got to think long term here. Germany, this Stranglethorn's actually really tempting, depending what it's paired with, just to lob it onto the board. Oh, Hyena something. It's cheap as well. Cheap Hyena. Hyena Snail?
Just the Devil Saw being pulled isn't fantastic, but that's pretty juicy.
Excuse the owing. I know people aren't big fans of being owed every time there's a good top deck, but that's a good top deck.
We were talking about how are South Korea going to be able to win. While this is a potential win condition, there's 2 damage that can come out from their hero power every turn. Is now going to be really nice. They did go face first with the 3/4. They could have waited to see what popped out in case it was another Devil Saw, for example, and then they could have
it might have been a Grizzly, then they might not be able to go face.
Exactly, so you have to make all those considerations.
And they need that damage because they know that time is limited now. However they go about it.
But I think Bunny Hopper will be in a position where he knows, right, if we can find lifesteal, if we can find charge and the ability to get up, we should just be able to stay out of range of the hero power and Mind Blasts. But suddenly this next turn is quite scary.
Yeah, the second Psychic Scream, and don't forget there's 2 in there still, are big deals if they can be found right now, because it buy just enough time, I think, for South Korea to get this done. But if they can't find it, they are going to probably have to face down 1 too many beasts.
And it will be interesting to see if South Korea were to draw their second Shadow Visions, what they actually take. Because you could take another Psychic Scream, and then you've got loads, but are you going to win that way?
It will depend on health totals for sure, yeah.
Maybe you take a Mind Blast.
Because they're not far off winning right now. It's getting there. Mind Blast would be really close, and Psychic Scream would just buy so much time. And that's why Germany have to load up and try and get it done. They've probably got 2 turns left to live.
Oh, this is Mind Blast number 1.
So if they want it, they have 9 damage available. It's quite a bit. And there's so many other things, yeah.
It's whether they can maneuver it for a 2-turn lethal here. Use Define him potentially just to stay out of lethal range, but I don't think you need to this turn. I think you should be comfortable at 16 for your opponent. Yeah, you should be okay. I don't think that you could see also, any charge for 10.
You can do silliness with Divine Hymns, Pyromancers and Acolytes. You only get 1 ping in that way, and that's probably not enough pings. But you get more cards, and cards are nice. When you've not got many left, and in there is 1 Mind Blast, 1 Shadow Visions, 2 Psychic Screams, that's a third of your deck.
That's a lot, Neil.
Yeah, most of your deck is good for you if you draw more than 1 card.
And realistically, I mean, you only need to find that other Mind Blast and then hope there isn't any lifesteal from your opponent. So maybe that 1 ping is enough in combination with some Acolyte thingy-majiggies. But they are just going to go for the pings right here, right now.
Yep, and that gives them some outs for next turn already. In fact, ping, Mind Blast, ping, Pyromancer, ping is actually lethal next turn anyway. So, Loose Specimen, you know, it's got lifesteal, so it will damage the minions on Germany's side, but it will heal the face.
Okay, so so you're not really too worried about that, but surely damaging your own minions at this point, you're so far ahead.
Like the 6 immediate health.
So that takes you up to 17.
Sure. Can you get it done in 2 turns from there? It's close to the wire.
I mean, your board is getting very intimidating at this point. Attacking first, just in case everything goes wrong here. There would be a potential that, of course, the Hyena could just die with every attack.
Vivius is smiling at this ingenuity here from Germany.
And this is what we were talking about earlier, like building these beasts to get your biggest advantage. And now a Psychic Scream is very much needed for Dagrivius here.
And it would probably get it done, even though there is a backup of a life-stealing Nuclear.
Oh, there it is!
There it is!
Oh, that's huge! Because you have to get rid of this 10-10 with lifesteal, otherwise you were just not winning this game.
I think what he's considering is, do we get rid of the Bear first? Do we get rid of the Acolyte first? It is an extra card, so probably. Because all those things are in there to either be good or bad for your opponent. So
you don't want to give them the ability to heal, surely. I mean, I guess you have to at this point.
No, you can still shoot it yourself if you really want to. So you've got to just think it through, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying any of those things I'm going to do. Just make sure you've worked out all the possibilities.
So you could shuffle a Northshire Cleric as well into their deck then, if you wanted to.
Yep, just to clutter it up. But they want it on the board because they probably get another card off it next turn if they... Well, possibly anyway. And now Germany have Hero Power and a Zombeast. A life-stealing Zombeast. But they don't know if they're dead next turn.
That's the scary thing.
And if it's a Mind Blast in hand along with one we can see, then they would be.
Would they? Yeah.
16.
16 just, yeah. And the Zombies doesn't have charge as far as I'm aware.
I don't think so. Unfortunately, it is difficult to keep track sometimes. Yeah. But as far as we know, there's only...
I mean, judging by the
pick of the...
Judging by the mana cost, and I don't think there were any charge minions when it was actually picked originally. I'm fairly certain it isn't.
And the fact they felt the need to injure their own minions to heal their own face.
Exactly.
None of this is going to help. Not now the priest is on the smash you in the face plan. So that doesn't quite set up lethal. But hitting for 9 would be plenty. Do the bananas help?
This 9 damage is really annoying.
Yeah, I think it's up to 11, isn't it? Because you can use banana ping, banana ping.
Banana ping.
Shadowy thoughts.
New track dropping from Lorinda.
What, banana
2018.
ping?
Banana ping.
That would be even more annoying.
What, a new track dropped by you?
Yeah.
All right, what's the play here, Neil?
Someone injured?
Hiram, are you just searching for cards now at this point?
Yeah. Well, you're searching for damage because they're going to heal for 9 next turn and get well out of range of the combo you're close to getting. So here comes all the cards. You can't win this turn, but you're trying to get a situation where you can do an absolute bucket of
this
damage
is
next
nice.
turn. This is so good.
Twilight Acolyte found. Suddenly, this Muckler isn't as scary.
He's just muck now.
Yeah, and Muck's not scary, is it?
Not usually.
But then we're back to building a beast. And, uh-oh. Trouble in paradise. Suddenly we're waiting for a reconnect. Everything's getting a little bit tense in this building, and I'm sure in every building of all these players as well. As maybe they panicked when they saw the Twilight Acolyte and someone kicks out an Ethernet cable.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's the worst.
The good thing is we've already shown that the reconnect feature is working really well. That was used to good effect earlier today.
Touch wood.
That's paper.
Touch wood. There we go.
That's plastic.
Touch wood.
Yeah, that'll do.
Okay, great. Yeah, but things are looking relatively good now with the Twilight Acolyte being played by Dagrivius, and suddenly we are looking for lifesteal from Bunny Hopper. I didn't see the first card that was picked, unless this is the first card. There's the Vibrood Skitteray is available. It's poisonous, it's rush, it can deal with the 9/4 that's on the board, and maybe they feel like that might just be enough.
Yeah, dealing with stuff on the board is not necessarily enough for them now, though. Because there's 7 cards left for South Korea. They've got Shadow Visions in hand, and one of the cards in the deck is still a Mind Blast. Germany do actually need to heal up and actually start trying to win the game. I'm sure they're trying to win the game, but actually put some sort of semblance of threat down to try and win that game.
This 2 damage, this 2 lifesteal is going to be pretty significant.
Yep.
The Witchwood Grizzly now can actually just stop any face damage from these minions.
Board clear with 1 Dustbreaker is available now.
Oh, you're so close. You're so close.
So Bump Bump Dusky Boy would clear the board.
You'd have to throw in a ping
as well.
or a banana.
A banana might be good.
Banana bump, Dusky, ping.
Yep.
Or other way around.
Yeah, because you get an extra ping if you do
Yep.
things in that order. And that leaves you with a Dusky and next turn lethal versus Mr. Mossy, Play Dead, and what I was going to call a gloop, but that's probably a card now, so a Gluttonous Ooze.
And unless we see a big draw from Germany here, it's going to have to be back to build a beast. King Crush is a big draw, but not a big enough draw to survive here.
Yeah, the crowds all come to see King Crush. He's that big a draw.
No lifesteal.
It's time for Scalebane.
But this means that...
Scalehide.
Yeah, you literally just need Scalehide, Rush, and lifesteal.
Yeah. Not a Murloc, I've been told. I don't believe them. Just because it looks like a beast.
But Bunny Hopper and the rest of the Germany team now will be calculating the mana cost of potential cards that could actually keep them in this game. What has lifesteal? What has rush? None of those cards are lifesteal or rush. There is a taunt there, but we can see double Mind Blast available for South Korea, along with the hero powers as well, is just going to win them this game. And it does mean 3-0. Germany are going to fall here. It's okay. They were only 2-1, so it means they go to 2-2. But Dagrivius and South Korea, they go to 3-1 in the Swiss with a fantastically played Control Priest game.
Yeah, absolutely sweet there, how they held on and worked out the endings. I quite liked how Germany played that as well, to be honest. Trying to, every little thing they could do. They just couldn't quite force the Mookla down. They never had the mana, and that can go wrong with Rexar sometimes. You just don't quite get the mix of mana cost and cards that you need.
Yeah, a really well-played game, and a very interesting series, as it were, but in the end, it ends up 3-0 to South Korea. I'm sure they will be delighted with that one. And moving to 3-1 in the Swiss is a very strong place to be, right? If we think 4 wins should get you to the next stage, then at 3-1, you're starting to get more confident.
But you are carrying Raven on your shoulders.
No one
picked
wants
them to win the
No
tournament.
one wants to do that.
Yeah, it's just like an extra weight you have to carry when Raven picks you. And so maybe they've still got a little bit of work to do.
And it was a nice 3-0. We were looking at the rest of the matchups, and we probably feel like South Korea should have had this series in the bag anyway. When we get to those further matches, we had some interesting ones coming up. Control Priest versus Odd Warrior could have been it would have been a slog, and it would have been a long one, but it certainly would have been an interesting one because these players are absolutely incredible, and they were piloting the decks fantastically. Right, well, that is series number 3 completed, and that means we have 2 more series left for you guys. Next up is going to be a happy Falcone, Lorinda, and the reason why is it's Italy versus Netherlands. Both of his caster picks, his heritage of Italy and his caster pick of Netherlands. We're going to go for a short break, but when we'll be back, we'll have a happy Falc. See you then.